Hi, this is Mimi.
And this is Lee, and this is Getting Rich After Divorce.
We're two divorced women who decided the best way to get rich was to embrace our entrepreneurial spirits and build our own business.
To us, rich means the money in your bank account, but also the quality of your life, your experiences, and your personal well-being.
You're here to overcome doubt, fear, burnout, and finally get unstuck to build a business you love and makes you rich.
You also want to learn how to do all of this while navigating the challenges divorced women face. If that's you, stick with us. You're in the right place.
Hi, this is Mimi.
And this is Lee, and you are listening to Getting Rich After Divorce. Today, in this episode of Getting Rich After Divorce, we're going to talk about how developing what we call CEO mindset instead of a worker bee or even a manager mindset will help your business soar.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about what is CEO mindset, and sometimes we refer to it as CEO energy, sometimes it's CEO mindset, but really what does that entail? And then we're going to talk about what happens if you don't develop a CEO mindset and you can never get yourself to that place. Mm-hmm. And then we'll wrap up by talking about what are all the beautiful things that happen in your business and with you as a person when you do adopt this CEO energy and you own the fact that you are the CEO of your business.
Yeah. So what is CEO mindset? What do you think, Mimi? How do we define this?
Well, I think, first of all, it's a hard thing to say, even sometimes, to write down, so what's your role in your business? Oh, I'm the president of my business. I'm the co-founder of my business. It's like when the first few times when we started our business and I was describing it to someone, I was like, wow, that's amazing, and
Right.
It really kind of caught me by surprise, but that's really what you are, it's like we refer to, oh, I have a business doing this, I have a business doing that, but it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's more to it than that. I own this business. And so I think CEO mindset is when you really start to sink into I am the owner.
I am a business owner. Yeah. It's true, because it was hard for us in the beginning to even say that. We're like, well, we have a coaching company that does this and our customers do that. And it felt awkward at first saying we would revert to founder. We would say we were founder. I don't even know why we went there, but we are CEOs and business owners. And that mindset, just the fact that we struggled to call ourselves that says a lot.
Yeah. Okay. This is outside of being CEO mindset, but it's one of the things that makes me crazy that women do. I have never heard a man refer to his company as, oh, I have this little business. And, we hear women say it all the time. We catch ourselves, not as much anymore, but at the beginning, we really would say oh, I have this little business. We were diminishing it so that I think probably was like a safety thing, right? If it doesn't really take off or something, instead of saying that's the difference between not having CEO mindset and having it, that's already starting to downplay it. So, it's really.
We were caught. I don't know. I can't say we, but I would sometimes very early on say, I've got this little side business. And definitely, making less of it in the beginning. And probably out of fear and not wanting to sound overly self-important or, thinking too much about what other people would think. Way too much about what other people would think.
Yeah.
That one should, as a CEO and business owner, you got to be thinking of yourself and your business.
Yeah. And I think when you start to adopt this CEO mindset, it's really when you start to take a serious energy focusing on what's the vision of this company that I want. And the vision is a little bit different than the mission statement. The mission statement really is what your business does and who your customer is and what you hope to get for them. And the vision is, what do I want this business to be? Is the vision of my company that I have 30 employees? Is the vision that I serve people all around the world? Is the vision that I only work 3 days a week. It's like, what is, is the vision of my company that they talk about it on Good Morning America.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
really is, as the CEO, that's one of the things that you will spend time doing, is really thinking about, what do I want this business to look like?
Mhm. And that's where you do things like 1 year from now, 2 years from now, and go out, force yourself. And when you're in CEO mindset, you can do that. When you're not in CEO mindset, it's so much harder to think that way.
Yeah.
So if you find that it's hard for you to think that way, it's massaging yourself back over into CEO mindset, like get the brain kind of back over into CEO,
Yeah.
a CEO place.
Yeah. And I think it's like owning whether you have, contract workers that work with you, you have consultants that work with you, or you bring on full-time staff. That CEO energy is that I'm setting the vision for this company, and I'm establishing what the core values are. As a solopreneur or a small business, often your personal core values, don't you think, end up being like what your company core values?
Ideally, yeah. I mean,
are?
that is our goal for sure.
Yeah.
And we definitely teach our student, we attract students who want to do that, who want to live their values and be in alignment with their values in their business. And we won't go into what happens if you don't go into C, but you definitely, when you're in CEO mindset, that's where you are. You're anchored in who you really are, what you're all about, and you can see whether you're aligning with that or not.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing about adopting CEO mindset is you step out of thinking, I'm just working in my business, like from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., I'm just in the weeds, as Lee likes to call it, working in my business in the weeds. And when you're CEO, you really are stepping out and you're trying to take a more eagle-eye view. And what you want is your business to be supporting the life and lifestyle that you want, not you grinding all day long in your business.
Yeah, that is a good way to look at it, because when you're in CEO mindset, it's just like if you were running like a Fortune 500 company, you would have data and observations and evidence that maybe people were working, too many hours, because you would have that data reflected, or people were getting burned out and taking more sick days. You get to see that about yourself too. And when you're in the weeds, as I do like to say, and just working, you don't always have that perspective, because you're just focused on deadlines, focused on getting it done, all the things you got to do.
Yeah. So that C mindset that's where you're asking those questions specifically about your business, not the tasks that you need to accomplish, which you do also as a CEO, because you're making those decisions. Often you'll be doing that with your team. But it really is like you're the keeper of that vision and implementing it and where you want your business to go.
Yeah, and I almost see managers as the level of the business, because CEO mindset is different from manager mindset. Like there's an operations manager mindset that would think, here's what needs to happen and here's how it needs to flow. And that's different. Like the CEO would be in on those conversations at a high level, but would not need to implement or be talking about the tasks necessarily. That's where like a manager comes in, or a director even. So you're wearing many hats always as a solopreneur. And one we've discovered, as we were talking about, we did not think of ourselves as CEOs, and we did that. We know exactly what happened with that, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So Lee, why don't you talk about that? Talk about what happens if you never develop this CEO mindset, and if you never slip into that.
Yeah. Well, a variety of things happen that we experienced firsthand. And so first of all, you don't take the time necessarily to get data. You're just working. You're just in creation mode or delivery mode. And so when you're in creation and delivery mode, You're not necessarily gathering up all the data and analyzing the data and then making sense of it again at that eagle eye level, because you're just not in that mindset. They really are two very different mindsets.
Yeah, and just to talk a little bit about, when Lee says the data,
Mhm,
what she's talking about is, where's the money coming into my business?
mhm,
I've been promoting these like 2 or 3 different products, which one is successful and which one isn't, am I willing to let go of something that I love if it's not working for my
mhm.
business? It's really taken, I've been spending X amount of money on advertising. Am I getting the result from it that I want? And this is the data that's really going to let you make.
Yeah, and another thing that happened for us early on is you don't intuitively know what the data is going to tell you. You really do have to get the hard numbers, because sometimes we would think either way. We would think, oh, this ad is working better than this ad. But then when we would go look at the data, that wasn't necessarily true. It was just an opinion. It was like a perception we had. And so when you take time to shift into CEO mindset, you're really looking not at your feelings, not at your perceptions or opinions, but we can, and a CEO, just to be clear, has gut instinct, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But you need that data, and you need the time to make time in your calendar to look at that. So if you don't develop CEO mindset, that data is just sitting over there and you're not dealing with the reality of it. And then what happens?
Yeah, then it's like you find
Yeah.
yourself making the same mistake over and
Yeah,
over.
right.
Partly it's because I have to make the decision. Like you get caught in this, hamster wheel of I have to make this decision. I don't have time to look at the data. So I'm just going to do it again. I'm just going to keep trying it. Like it doesn't feel like it's working. I'm not getting the customers I want. I'm not seeing my bank account grow the way that I wanted to do, but I just don't have time, to get off this hamster wheel and try something different. So you just the same mistake over and over again. Or you can find that you really are going down the totally wrong road from where you wanted to be. Like it's just like you've been turning and following this thing, and all of a sudden you look up and you're like, wait, well, why am I here? And that's like staying in that worker bee mode and not in the CEO.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you're just working, making the same old mistakes, maybe ending up in some burnout and frustration because something's off and you're not necessarily taking the time to figure out what that is, you don't think as clearly, and you certainly don't have that vision and ability to see down the road as clearly. And so you can't as easily think about where you're heading, where are you taking your company, where are you going, or where do you want to go. So those things just don't happen when you're not in CEO mindset.
Yeah. And so, we were talking earlier that, one of the components of being the CEO of your business is really knowing what your core values are. And so if you don't sit in that mindset, like the beauty of knowing your core values is that you use them, so you are making decisions based on what you value and what aligns with your core values. So when you don't adopt that CEO mindset, then that's when you can drift. So if you every decision that you want to make, big and small, if you sat back as a CEO and say, does this align with the core values of my company? Does this align with where I want this company to go? Then it's like you can say yes or no. And it really makes it so much more helpful, if we want to start shifting into, why it's good to have a CEO mindset. It's like it allows you to use your core values and make decisions, easier, because it's like it's a yes or no. Like it either is it aligned or it isn't aligned.
Or you can have the discussion.
And if you have the data that's backing it up and you're taking the time to really sink in and look at it, it makes it harder to get down that wrong road that you didn't want to be on.
Yeah. So when you learn how to, shift from worker bee mode or operations mode or creation mode into CEO mindset, this is all the good stuff that happens. And it's going to sound a lot like the reverse of what we just said, but we want to really lay it out there for you because the good stuff is good. When you're in CEO mindset, what you get out of that is you get clarity. You are able to take that eagle eye view and you can see further down the road, and you see, if I fly this way, I won't get there. If I fly this way, I'm not going to get there. And that's where I want to go. I'm using my hands because I keep forgetting that this is a podcast, but if you imagine, if anybody's familiar with that book about 1 degree turns, you don't see that as easily when you're not in CEO mindset. So when you are in CEO mindset, you see that you might be taking too many 1 degree turns in the wrong direction. And you also see better and more clearly where you actually want to go. And then you also see, you're able to pay attention to what is working and what isn't working. You have that clarity of vision to see that more easily when you step out of worker bee mode.
Yeah. And I can lay out an example of how this has played out in our business. We can really set some goals at the beginning of the year.
Oh yeah.
This is where we want our business to go. This is what we want to accomplish this year. This is what we want to add to our business. This is what we want to let go of our business. Beautiful, detailed plan. We'll spend a solid week in CEO mindset and energy, planning it, visioning it. It's all so clear.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will not revisit that again.
This is in the past. This is in the past. This is a pattern in the past.
For months,
Yeah.
And it's, so when you like, okay, I see it, I'm going to sink into that. That CEO energy has to be on a continuum, so that you don't end up like we would in September.
Yeah,
like, oh, what? What was our plan? Like where it is. So at least as you got to put it in your calendar, it does have to be, a really intentional thing. You have to plan it as much as you plan, developing your product, as much as you plan delivering your product. You have to be in this CEO energy, and you have to be connected to that vision and plan that you've set for your business.
Right. I mean, we absolutely have it. Like it's on Monday every week. We have several hours that we spend in CEO level mindset. Mm-hmm. And I really love how that's made a difference in how our business goes. It flows. It just is so much better. I can't even, it feels better, guys. It just feels better. And the difference when you start shifting back and forth between just doing the work, getting projects done, and CEO level mindset. It just feels you feel like things make sense. Mm-hmm. You feel like you're on target. It's easier to self-correct if you're not on target. So yeah.
I was just thinking as you were talking that I used to think of this time and this time block of being the CEO of my company, like I thought about self-care. It's like, oh, wouldn't that be lovely if I had the time for that? Like, oh, I can see that some people, might have enough time in their day where they could be the CEO, but I got work to do, and I really felt like that was a luxury instead of realizing that doing that work, like Lee said, makes everything else easier, and it makes everything else more fun, because it has a plan and a reason. And I'm like one of those people, I want to understand why I'm doing something.
Yeah.
And if I was like on that hamster wheel and racing from one thing to the next, mm-hmm. I didn't.
Yeah. And I think to be in CEO mindset, you have to see the value of it. You have to see that this is actually a really valuable place to be. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I just talked about the value of this. One of the values is when you're in this kind of mindset, you're more easily able to get into your body wisdom, which is something we teach, that you actually use the wisdom of what your body is telling you. This is a big part of our curriculum. We don't always talk about, but when you're just working, and you're stressed out about deadlines, and you're on, kind of getting on a hamster wheel, that's not a place where it's easy. When you're in that mode, it's much harder to connect with your body's wisdom. you're almost all the time ignoring it when you're in that mode. And when you get into your CEO level mindset, it gives you the space to connect. And then I think you can use your wisdom that comes out of your intuition and your gut instinct. And you hear about legendary CEOs and leaders who they've gotten amazing places by, and they say, I went with my gut, I went with my instinct, but they were able to do that because they weren't in the weeds off just working, their fingers to the bone.
Yeah. And I always think that they're doing it like you're listening to your gut, but you're listening to a gut from a place of knowledge.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's like you've collected the data, you know where your business is, you know what's working and what isn't working. So when you're trying to make that next decision and you're using your intuition and gut instinct, you're doing it from a place of knowledge and not from a place of, oh, this works, which is, it's a different ability to tap into that.
Yeah, it's a really good point. It is with more knowledge, that higher level knowledge, that you take the time to gather and to analyze and really assess it. And I think because you have this eagle eye vision and you gather data and you can listen to your instincts, it's easier to make those hard decisions that you just can't make when you're not in CEO level mindset. So that means you can go, from that higher ability to see clearly, and not just what feels easiest, most fun, or wouldn't hurt someone's feelings, or some kind of perfectionism, bent that, somebody could get on and just get stuck there. You can make this project has to end now, or we need to focus on only this project. And sometimes that's hard to do, especially when you're working on that project that needs to be shelved for a little bit. So you can make clearer and otherwise hard decisions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, we're just trying to assess everything about your business. Some decisions are super hard and some are really fun.
Mhm.
Like, hey, should we have a corporate event this
Party.
year and go have a retreat or something like that?
Yeah.
Like that gets really fun to plan. But a lot of times you'll find like not everything you try is going to work.
Mhm.
And you're emotionally attached to it, right?
Mhm.
Like you loved this project. It was your baby, you've created it. You were so sure that your customers were going to love it, and you've put it in a nice little box with a bow and served it up to them. And they're like, yeah, that's so interesting. Like
crickets.
Yeah, this isn't really what I wanted. And so often you'll think, oh, I just have to push it harder and and it's like, when you can step back and look at it objectively as the CEO and not as the owner of that particular project, it makes it easier to say, hey, you know what, it was the right project, but maybe the timing isn't right, or maybe we didn't enumerate the value of it well enough for our customers. Like you can really look at it and analyze it from a different place of like, oh my gosh, I love this so much. I'm just going to keep pushing. And it's, it's that rock boulder up the hill in the sand, and instead you can look at it. And if you have to make the hard decision that this just wasn't the right project, you can let it go without it feeling quite so painful because you've really analyzed it from, a stronger position.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Like, I want to think about how I phrase this, because I don't want to, first of all, what you have to know about our business and the way we coach people is we value people's emotions. We value our emotions. We value our feelings and our gut instinct and our body wisdom. Like we listen to all that stuff and we help others do the same. And CEO level mindset, it's not really that you're letting go of your emotions or cutting off your emotions or being less emotional. It's more like if you're doing it well, you're letting go of ego. You're letting go of ego and your ego attachment, which gets more defensive and clingy and gets emotional in the egoic kind of way. It's different from just being angry or sad. It's more like an ego attachment to something and not
Yeah.
wanting to let go. But when you really try to click into CEO level mindset and look at the data and listen to people, it's easier to just release that piece too, because that can really take you down the, just take your business down the drain if you're too off in your ego.
Yeah, it's that movie You Got Mail.
Yeah.
I always go back and forth about whether I like it or not. 'cause
Say more.
They
Say
feel
more.
like, I mean, I do think it's adorable. I love both Meg Ryan
Yeah.
and Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
But this idea that he knew all along and she didn't, like something about that just bothered me.
Oh, that bothered me a lot too.
Yeah.
Now that you bring that up,
But I
I
still
kind of hated that. Yeah.
I still
Right.
adore it. But there's that one line in there when he says something like, "Oh, it's not personal, it's business." And she's like, "What does that even mean?"
Right.
Like, of course it's personal.
Yeah.
Like, if business is anything, shouldn't it be
Yeah.
first be personal? I'm totally paraphrasing here, but this idea. And so I always go back and forth when people say like, "Oh, it's, it's not personal, it's just a business decision." But we are people and it is personal. And when it's your business, it is both business and personal,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and so being able to step into CEO mindset is like, I'm going to have to make the decision, even if personally it feels like a sacrifice, because you know that in the long run, it's the best thing and you can see that and you can balance it, right? So it's not just like, oh, this thing that I didn't want to happen, this product that I love so much, wasn't totally well received. So the part of saying it's business, it's not personal, is like, you can step back and this product was not me personally, right? It was my idea. It's what I hoped would happen. And I put it out in the world and it wasn't received the way I had hoped. That's not me being rejected, So I think like that's kind of what they mean when it's not personal, but it can still feel really personal.
Oh, absolutely. That's really normal for business success and failure, and just the stagnation that can occur, or the longer timeline. You think something's going to be done in April and it takes until December, that could all feels a certain way. So your emotions and feelings, and it's so personal. Absolutely. And CEO level, I want to kind of back up and say, something we teach in our programs that listeners may not know is we also talk about different parts of our personality and mind. So when we say click into CEO mindset, we're acknowledging that not all of us is that. And when we're stepping into creation mindset, not all of us, there's still these other parts of our brain and our psyche. And so you can move around, you can learn to move around when you need to. And recognize where you are when you are in a certain place. And it's very freeing and fun, and I think healing to learn that you can move through all these parts of yourself. So come take our program because we can teach you more about that. But so because some people might be baffled, how can I change mindsets? How can I shift from one thing to the other? But you absolutely have that capacity.
One of the very first courses we created was a small mindset course. And I was just like, what even is this? I mean, I was such a newbie into this arena of mindset and energy work, and embracing it totally changed the trajectory of my personal and business life. So CEO mindset is just another component of something that you will learn and is really vital if you want your business to support the life that you want. I mean, that's why we're in business, right? It's a balance for me. I'm in business because I want to make an impact, right? I want more women to have money, because with that money, they're making their own financial decisions. They're not reliant on finding, for divorced women, they're not relying on finding like the next, husband that's going to care for them financially, because they can do that themselves. Hopefully you got just what you needed in your alimony settlement and got everything that you deserve. Like, that's our wish for you. But if you didn't, like, having your own business takes the pressure off. It fills that gap. We call it be your own alimony. That's what a business does for you. And it really gives you such pride and power. Money is power.
Money is power. And,
Freedom.
we didn't create that world that makes it so, but that is the world we live in. Money is freedom and power. And we personally believe, we'll just go out on a soapbox.
Yeah.
Women should have more money and power. It gives you a voice.
And it's not a greed thing, and it's
No.
not a negative thing.
No.
It's like when you have your own money and you're the CEO of your business and your money, you are the CEO of your life.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. You are the CEO
You're
of your
CEO
life.
of your life.
I love that, Mimi. That's exactly what it is. And I think definitely when it's your own business, in addition to being CEO of the business, you're learning at the same time to be CEO of your life. It's a broader skill set where you can click into that part of your mind.
Yeah, and you probably already have been the CEO of a bunch of stuff, but not the title. Like the CEO of your family, of your household, of your friend group, of
And it enables you when you're more conscientiously moving into this mindset, it starts strengthening the muscle where you can recognize when you're not there, and you can learn in your own mind and psyche to move around to where you need to be in that moment. It gives you a lot of internal strength and power too.
Yeah. This has been good.
Yeah.
All right. Good. So hopefully you've got a clear idea of, what CEO mindset is.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't adopt that, and then all the really cool things and the ease with which you can run your business when you start to own your CEO mindset.
Yeah. So as always, thank you. We'll see you in the next episode. And we have any resources available. We often have freebies, handouts. You can find those in the description or the notes section, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to Getting Rich After Divorce. We're so happy you were here. We truly value each and every one of you.
Yes, we sure do. And be sure to subscribe to us wherever you're catching us, whether it's on through a podcast platform or on YouTube. Please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating if you feel you deserve that. And join our community so you get updates and stick with us.